Let's see. All right, we're recording and we're good to go. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Craig and defensive end Arden Walker. He's from Mizzou, played 12 games last year, had worked your way up the ranks at Mizzou, but we're looking for a new opportunity. But thank you for joining us today. Excited to get to know you more and talk about your experience and your future with Colorado.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so just I think, there's a lot of reasons why players enter the portal, but for you, what was your biggest reason and what was Mizzou not meeting in terms of what you wanted to do?
I'll say it's just more like an opportunity. The opportunity was just kind of shaky, so I think just I kind of decided to explore other options. It just no, I mean, no knock on our program and things like that, but like I said, just I think I had to go a different route. Really, that's what it was. So.
Hmm. And just looking back on your recruitment, why did you choose Mizzou in the first place? What kind of fit in terms of that alignment, player, athletics?
Um, just based on the talks with the previous coaching staff that was there before I got there, the relationships I built over time, and just like the scheme that they had that were originally going to be in and stuff like that. I think it was suitable to me, and of course, playing the SEC, I think that's one of the one of the biggest conferences in the nation. So that was definitely one of them opportunities, especially coming from Colorado. So.
What were some of your just biggest takeaways during last season, getting a more elevated role, getting more playing time? Do you remember a time where one game was really challenging and one challenging game and then one game you had like a really productive game and you felt good about your performance?
I think the bowl game when we the Gasparilla Bowl we just played in versus Wake
Hmm.
Forest, opportunity to really like step into a role. Over this last season, I it was kind of up and down, like was like with plays and things like that. So I really didn't get as many opportunities because one, I also had like uh three seniors in my group that like shared time. So I kind of just basically went with the older guys at the time. So but it just like I'll say. Hmm, yeah, I think that was like probably one of the easier games, and then just challenging wise, I'd probably say Tennessee. Just like with the high paced offense they had, and how unique it really was. Like seeing it like firsthand, that team was pretty solid this year, and I see why they beat Alabama and all the other teams they beat out. So.
How
Yo,
much was
Arden.
it? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh
Craig.
no, no, no. Sorry about that, Nikki. I just wanted to jump in here real quick. Arden, growing up in Denver, I mean, having a dad that played at CU, what sort of a role, or how did you view CU growing up? Like, what sort of a role did that school, did that program have in your interest in
Oh,
and the way you digested the sport?
I grew up a Colorado Buffalo fan. Like, I mean, from like wearing, I don't know if you guys know Ryan Walter. He's actually a D coordinator at Purdue now. I have one of his jerseys in my closet actually. Like, I was a big time Buff fan, and that's one of the reasons I wore 15, like Little League and everything else. But like I definitely followed the program growing up and just seeing the ups and downs and just the time and also just the history and stuff. Like, of course, like my dad's teammates, they just kind of preach certain things to me, and then him, of course, like just their time there. Of course, they brag on it because it's like one of the time, like high times in the program as well. So, and every time I see all of them, it's the same old thing, and they like also the brotherhood they share. I'll say that's something that definitely stood out to me. Like, them guys have been friends almost 40 plus years now, and it's like. It's not a day where they don't have fun or ain't laughing or they like my dad's teammates call them up all the time, and that's something like I think for me, especially because I'm an only child too, like I think that's something I appreciate, like having the friendship and brotherhood. So, like I think that's something just when I was growing up, looking forward like to college and stuff like that. That's something I was looking for sure.
I mean, what
Well,
kind of stories would you hear about him, or sorry, would you hear from him about his experience playing there? I mean, as you touched on, that was a great time for the. I mean, that was a
Right.
as good as things have ever been.
Of course, like just back in his heyday, he talking about like some of the plays and the games they played in, like the Nebraska games. That's always a red letter game. So just like the deep rivalry and like just basically like I said, him making plays. Like I mean, I'll see some things on YouTube. Some of the games are like pre-recorded or whatever, and we'll sometimes we'll sit in there and watch them. I'll be messing with him, of course, talking about he didn't make this play or that play. But like I said, it's just kind of nice to see it. And I mean, of course, like I said, it's been in my blood forever. So glad to be
what's
home now.
your Yeah. Do you have like what's your earliest memory, football memory that you have with your dad? Like going back to when you were really young. Like, do you remember like holding football on a field? Like what does that look like?
I mean, he coached me through like little league and in
Hmm.
high school as well. But oh, that's hard to say. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's just like I always had the hard coaching, so like it's crazy because especially being the coach's son, I've probably been like he'd be on me the hardest out of anyone. Expect like I'd be basically setting the standard what like in practice. Actually, I can go back to like one practice. I was kind of like going through the motions, and he like got on me, and I was playing like tight end and D end and little league and stuff. So, and he made tight end like a it was not necessarily like a prize, but like it was a privilege to play that position because usually he had me playing like left guard and like that also taught me just some life lessons in general, just playing left guard, and I can go in that too a little bit later, but like just being able to play tight end and like run routes and also block and all that stuff, I felt like it's a specialty to our team, and so I was messing around. He moved me back to left guard, and I was mad the rest of the practice, and he basically made me earn it. So I'll say that's one of the times.
Yeah, it seems like you with your father being a defensive tackle that you were kind of born to be on the defensive side of the ball. You kind of played a little bit of offense that like you said, but do you prefer playing defense? Like, was there any window of opportunity for you to actually pursue the offense side of the ball or like defense all the way?
Actually, first when I first came to Cherry Creek, I kind of wanted to play tight end, but like, as I've grown to like understand the game and everything as well, like, I think the aggression in me, I love to play defense and just go get the quarterback, get after him as well. So, I think as I got older, I started to like mature in the game and understand just really what was going on, and I think yeah, defense. I started to step into that role and mold into it really.
Hmm.
So.
Did your so has your dad lived in Colorado like his whole life, like since post college, and then
Oh,
that's how you ended up at Cherry Creek?
So yeah, well, after college, he moved back to Houston, Texas, and then he also coached for Oklahoma State University as well for a little bit. But him and my mom had came back here like in the early 2000s, and so but we've been pretty much here since then.
Yeah.
And then like he's been coaching, of course. So like, I mean, he not now necessarily. He kind of does more like working out D linemen and stuff like that here on the side and things like that when he has a time to if he's had a little downtime from work, but other than that, like I mean, it just yeah, more since I was basically born, we've been in Colorado.
Yeah. And him and Dave Logan had a relationship right from just way back in the day.
Hmm.
Um,
I was it was like those I think it was the Chatfield days when I think him and my dad had met.
oh, nice. And
Hmm.
then was that, I think, a big, I guess, catalyst for you going to Cherry Creek on top of your talent that you've built just through your younger years?
Right. And
Um,
I was good. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. I mean, I just your kind of your, how'd you get into the Cherry Creek program? It's basically my question.
Like during I'll say around eighth grade, because I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go to high school, and it was obviously some opportunities around my area, but it was just like from like the most suitable standpoint. Like Cherry Creek, one had the academics, and that's a big thing in my house, and then two, just like from a football perspective, like um, it's just like the culture. You know, he's been around for a while, and I'm sorry, but people
You're
are honking.
good.
But no, like so just from like Cherry Creek was of course like a program that's been well known just for football and just every other sport in general. And so like I think just from a traditional high school standpoint, like that's something that my dad was looking for me. And then I think just so like all the traction they have for football as well, it was just a great fit and opportunity. So and then obviously you've seen what we did over these last couple of years. Like we built some sort of program, dynasty almost, but
Yeah. And also Julian Hammond, you're friends with him, right?
also, that's one of my best friends. Best
Yeah,
friend.
because he was. Can you describe? Because we see Julian Hammond, the basketball player, but what's Julian Hammond, the quarterback, like?
It's Julian. I'll say that's one of them like those dual sport athletes that you like. That's generational almost. Like his little brother, his youngest brother, they're all talented. His dad, like everybody's pretty much talented in the Hammond family. And just like him as a quarterback, he's just poised. Like I mean, you see why he plays point guard. Like just making so those certain passes and plays and stuff. Like he's just always comfortable, and I like in every setting, like even if it was just a lot of pressure on him and stuff like that. I think it made him a better basketball player at the end of the day because like he's just able to step into that leadership role, like what he's playing right now, and just like basically be poised in all situations. And like I said, it just went hand in hand for both sports.
Yeah, it's such a, I think, unique storyline, especially just with the, I think, Denver native as well, and just the CU connection. It's cool to be reunited with him. Well, in terms of your living
Right. Yeah.
situation,
He was
yeah,
so excited, and actually, because I came for a visit last weekend, and I hung with him and a couple of my other buddies. So, like I said, they're just so excited to see me and stuff. So,
yeah, you already have a familiar face to kind of show you around, but I'm
right.
assuming that you're familiar with Boulder.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
just when you enter the portal and you're like exploring options, what stood out to you about CU and how they kind of meet your maybe non-negotiables list, like things that you wanted to accomplish within a defense, just within your college career?
Just one, I'll go like just from like a culture standpoint. I've seen the shift, and that's something I kept saying and tell everybody. Like, I think it's something new and something special coming to the University of Colorado, and I definitely believe in it. And just seeing it firsthand, like after this past weekend, it's like you can kind of feel it when walking the football facility, and like I think just from the recruiting standpoint, it was more like just getting to know like the defense where they see me playing and stuff like that, and kind of made me think about just opportunities for me and with my family. I was just speaking on it, and because I mean honestly, at first like even hopping into the transfer portal was a lot. Just like I think that process in general, like it was hard for me in high school getting recruited, but just like the transfer portal was still difficult for me because like just making like timely decisions and just making the right decision. That's something I'm big on. So I didn't want to make the
Yeah,
wrong decision.
yeah, you want to, it's hard to, not to kind of fall into a routine. And also, it's
Exactly.
also hard not to be just complacent in your college career, especially when you have, the NFL at the end of your sights. You want someone and a program that can propel you within, get
Exactly.
you those 4 years and get you to the NFL at the end of it. Is that something you talked about with Nick Williams? And what were kind of your conversations with him? And you were like, whoa, this could be something that I could see myself in.
Like one on one, it was a lot of just like talking about development and ball, and I think him in general, like my coach actually loves the game, and it's like I think that's something that definitely stood out to me, like his energy and stuff, just how passionate he is about just breaking down tape and film, and like especially a person like me who also loves the game, and like me and my dad, of course, we sit and watch tape for almost hours and stuff, and actually like when we had met this past weekend at the University of Colorado on my little visit or whatever. We actually sat and watched tape run was like 2 hours, which is crazy. So it's like, sitting there and like talk football language and things like that. Like,
Mhm.
I think that made me feel good as well. Just like for my decision as well. Like, I kind of stamped it off of that really.
Yeah, I think something like a consistent narrative I've been getting from recruits is just the way that he describes you within a scheme. It's more like an individualized approach. And
Exactly.
yeah, he gives you more specifics on how you specifically are going to make an impact, like based on how you are as a player. And you kind of got that sense from him.
Yes, exactly. Like, just my body movements and stuff like that. He also caught out some things like I didn't notice about myself, or it's some things I could definitely work on. But like, I think he definitely headed in the right direction, and I started putting like my trust and believes in him. So,
How do you, yeah, go, Craig, if you want to hop in,
oh
you
no,
can.
Oh yeah, sure. Arden, when you got into the portal, and you
uh,
were looking for a new start at a new program, I mean, what were some of the things as far as what the program offered, as far as what the school offered? Like, what were you looking for? Like, what were the characteristics of something close to an ideal situation for you?
I think honestly, just the things I've been through, it was just more like I needed a fresh start. So, I think it was more like a like take a chance situation, more based off my faith and stuff. So just basically get in the water and go swim. And that's kind of like I think I took a chance on myself. That's really what it was.
Mhm.
I feel
You know,
like I know
was
the business enough now where it's like football is gonna be football and just how things are ran, especially in college football. Like it's just about your fit and what you think is best for you. And so I think that was just really what it was.
I mean, even before school started reaching out to you, like was CU a place that was it's obviously naturally on your radar, given where you grew up, given where your
Mhm.
dad played. But was that one of the like schools that when you first got in there that you were hoping you would hear from?
Oh, I mean, I could say that, yes. It was more like um, whatever happens, happens. Like I said, it was just like I kind of went with the flow. That's how I felt.
Yeah,
And how does that process work too? Like, I feel like we hear about the portal, and in some cases, I don't know if it's still the case now because we're so used to it. But there's kind of there's a bit of a mystery to it. Even the name of the transfer portal sounds kind of mysterious. But like, how did that process work? Like, who was the first person from CU to reach out to you? How did those conversations progress? And what did you hear from them early in that process?
It was like when I first got into the portal, I heard from Coach Nick, of course. Like I said, he's really good at recruiting. So he just asked me if I was interested, and we kind of just built a relationship from there. Really.
Now, would you, apologize for the ambient noise in the background too. I got a 7 week old who sometimes likes to make some noise. But when did you first get to talk to or meet Coach Sanders? Sorry, it feels weird to call him Coach Sanders. I feel like everybody calls him
I mean,
Coach.
I call him that too. That's funny. But I met him. I actually met him this past weekend. Like that was my first time seeing him in person and stuff. So he was actually down to earth and stuff. So just getting to meet him was an honor. And just telling him like I want to be a part of his program and stuff. He was like on the train with me, and we were on the same page, so it felt good.
I mean, what's that like for you as a player? Like you have a guy who has all of those accomplishments. Guy's one of the best players, probably best all around players to ever play. To ever play football.
Hmm.
And he sees something in you. Like, he sees you as somebody who can help him and help this program during a very pivotal point for for both him and CU. Like, what's that like for you? Like, how do you internalize? Like, is there like a sense of validation that kind of comes with that? Like, wow, like Deion Sanders sees something in me.
Right. It's a blessing for sure. Like, I mean, obviously he's seen something in me. Obviously, out of everybody that definitely wants to come to the University of Colorado now, especially just with the hype wagon and the train, and he out of all these people, I feel like I was chosen, honestly. And I feel like I feel like I'm supposed to be here. It's a blessing, and I'm gonna give him everything I got.
um, so I just looked it up. Yeah, Arkansas Missouri played November 25th. Missouri won 29-27 against the Razorbacks. Jordan Dominic was there. You were there. Um, I think just two questions. When you saw Jordan Dominic play, how is he such an impactful player? Like he led third in the SEC in sacks. Like what makes him such a good edge? And I guess how was that game? So start with Jordan Dominic and then I'll ask about the game.
Honestly, like I kind of I seen him make a couple plays just in our game alone, but as I started to even notice who he was, like I think he actually has a knack, and even watching a little bit of tape and stuff, like he has a knack to rush the passer, which I think his effort and stuff definitely gets him paid a little bit. So I think from our game, uh, ooh, like he kind of was he was making a lot of plays off of just like stunts and things like that. So like I said, he keeps himself just alive and well in the plays, and I think that's nothing but a success for him. I actually haven't met him in person or anything yet, but I mean obviously I will in a couple of weeks. But it seems like he's a pretty good player and stuff. Obviously, just being an SEC, making all SEC 13, like I especially he's also a little bit older than me too. So maybe some things I can learn off of him, he going off of me too. So.
I was talking to Hawkins Robinson, cornerback, Alabama, who's transferring to CU, and he was talking about how at Alabama he was trying to, I think, do everything the right way, and it wasn't, I guess, a natural style of play, and that kind of limited his time, like his playing time at Alabama. When would you say things like when you stop doing things the right way and start playing your kind of ball? Like when does that come along in your college career?
It's more like I say for me, that's a period I'm at now. Because when you first get into a new environment, it's more like, especially where I was at, like you kind of have to learn what's going on, especially since you're in the SEC. Like you're going against guys that's pretty decent, and just being able to learn the speed of the game, things like that. And maturing as a player, like football IQ, just strength and whatever else will come with it, it's more like it's a process. And when you get to that point of that, now you got your pen and paper and you study, you know what's going on. It's more like just be free, and now you get the opportunity to play. Like just put it on tape.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when especially in the SEC, you come across those guys with natural ability. It's like, wow, it's kind of, it's flooring being around such talented, like versatile guys. And I'm assuming that
Right.
you've been around some of those guys at Missouri too. I think just at your time at Missouri, who was like your biggest influence on your play style and like who you are as a player now?
Like just from like watching tape or just like people I've been
Just
around.
playing the game, being at the program, playing ball there.
So I mean, I have a lot of big brothers. Like, just I mean, I've made many relationships on my team, and uh, two guys I really spent a lot of time with was Isaiah McGuire, who obviously just got drafted to the Cleveland Browns. He's my roommate for this last year, and then Darius Robinson. He'll be a upcoming D tackle. He'll be in the senior year. So, them two guys that took me under the wing and just continue to get better at all areas. So, and I've been working out with Isaiah while I got back as well. So it just tuning up, and he's getting ready to go to camp and things like that. So we
Mhm.
just like make sure he's still on it regardless.
What were their reactions when you told them that you're entering the portal?
They were shocked. And then also I think a little sad too. Like I said, I love my people. I'm very social. So like just being able to touch my guys, be a vessel to them, any way I can. Like I think just being able to go on my different path, my own path, just figuring myself out. Like it sucks, but they all at the end of the day, they were happy for me, but they just a little sad, I will say.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough decision to make.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're hopping into a pretty deep group at the moment. You got Deef Harris, you got Derek McClendon, you got Savell Smalls, and then Chance Main played last year. He just graduated today. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, you're gonna hop into a pretty deep group. How would you describe your play style, and what kind of player is you getting with you?
I'm pretty versatile. I mean, I can rush the passer. I can play the run when I need to. Even with just like my room, like I still have something to prove, like everybody else does in that room. So I feel like just going into camp and stuff, we're gonna treat it like a pro setting. Everybody has to basically go get it, and may the best man win. That's how I feel. Like I'm gonna compete regardless of what the situation is. I mean, I'm coming from just not having an opportunity and going to have an opportunity. Somebody give me the chance, so I'm not gonna let anybody take it from me. Honestly.
Does your dad have automatic season tickets since he was a player? Is he going to be at every game this year?
I mean, he'll have sell tickets because of me, but like, nah. I mean, he of course he was going to the games here and there, but it was like just how the program has been lately, or like before time is just like there's been so many ups and downs and stuff, and then like some of the alumni and just I was not hearing from them. It's like it just like it was just at a point where it's like, oh well,
Yeah, things just like fizzled out. But
yeah.
I read an article that you used to practice with the Broncos pass rushers back in the day. What was that experience like? And just training with
So
NFL
my
pros.
right, and so my dad, like I was telling you guys earlier, like my dad been working out pro guys for a minute, and he like it was really a blessing. Like I said, just being around those guys and how they work and their work ethic and just just how they go about their business really. And I think I just something I started putting to myself. And I say it was more like even my freshman year, like I was coming in like I was more like upperclassmen than anything. I thought was kind of my approach, and at times it was helpful, and sometimes it hurt me. You can tell, but like it was kind of crazy. Even my coaches sometimes are asking like, "Well, man, you only a freshman. Like, it's kind of crazy to hear." Like, and I think it's just the way I carry myself. Like, that's something I took from them, and then just as well as like working out or taking care of your body, eating the right way. Like, those are things I really been just honing in on, make sure I'm just focused on. And actually, well, Demarcus Walker, that's one. He's at the Chicago Bears right now. Bradley Chubb, he's an opposite of Miami Dolphins. Like them two guys, I've kept up with for a while. And then Malik Reed, he's at the Dolphins now as well. And those are like the three main guys I basically worked out with and just built a relationship with, and they still keep up with me and stuff too. So
That's that's great. That's such a like one, a great networking connection, and two, just having fun in the NFL.
right,
Brownie points.
and
That's for sure.
that's my end goal. Like just seeing how those guys move and work
Mhm.
and they're about their craft. Like if how motivated they are. I see that like day in, day out. And I'm like, if that's somewhere I want to be, that's some like that's like the route I'm gonna take for sure.
Yeah. I wrote down this question before, and just on that point, just what motivates you? Is it those guys? Is it your family? Like, what's something that like gets you up in the morning, like those early practices, and you're like, I'm gonna kick ass today.
Honestly, like I'm a guy that loves football. I've grown to love the game, and I've just been around it my whole life. And I've seen what it's done for me, and I've been a platform to others. I mean, one, I'm a big man of faith as well. So just the God given abilities and talents I've had, like I just want to be able to market them and put it on a big stage, and just be able to share it to other people, like just what football can do for you. So
Totally. Craig, do you have anything? I mean, yeah, I've, it's so cool just like hearing this perspective just from, I think this end of it, because we were both like kind of on that 1-11 season last year. Things are so different. And I
right.
think now we're all part of this, like you said, just like dramatically changing culture. We don't really know what the future has to hold, but just talking with you and just getting this context just helps us put that story together a bit better and just put those pieces together. And yeah, I don't want to be wrapping up unless Craig, you have another question, but yeah, I just want to say it was a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, really excited to see your contributions to this like crazy new team that we're all going to see in the fall.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited to get started, get working when I get back home. And um, like I said, I think we're gonna change it, make a shift, and turn everything around. Like they've been saying, we coming, we are. So
I do have two more things here, Arden. They'll be real quick. But again, can't thank you enough for all of your time here. You had talked about when you visited, and you could just feel sort of the culture change and just how palpable it was.
all right.
How, yeah, it's something that seems so hard to describe, but how would you describe like what about it still kind of what about it stood out to you the most to where you were just like that where it kind of took you back where you were just like, whoa, this is way different.
And of course, you know me, I've been up to Colorado countless times. So it's like, just coming there that time specifically this past weekend, it's like, really see like a pro and like a disciplinary setting. And I feel like just getting guys to lock in and buy in, especially just knowing how costly like winning is in college football. Like, of course, you got more than two losses. You're not going to be in like the playoffs, for example, depending on like what your strength of schedule is, things like that. But like just how serious you're taking the game and how bad they really want to win and get the show on the road. Like I think just having the buy-in, that's something that they're really trying to preach, and I see it for sure.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I'm contractually obligated to ask this art. And I saw the you were a journalism major at the Mizzou, so you're in a very proud profession there. But art. I guess this will be a real self-interested kind of thing. But like, how did you first get into journalism? How did you first choose, and what kind of career do you potentially envision one to do with it?
Well, actually, and it's crazy you said that because I changed my major. Just now, I'm trying to get into leads when I get back. So, just for business management. But when I first came to Mizzou, like, of course, like it's one of the top journalism schools in the nation. So, just the heavy alumni and stuff and the opportunities they had, it definitely stood out. And like I say, when I first got here, just the like media broadcast and sport broadcast and things like that. That's something I feel like I could see myself doing. And just like even here though, the hard part is like being a journalism student and a student athlete, like especially for football. Like one, we were like a afternoon program, so like being able to go to practice and go like be in the field and work in the field, like say you got like news broadcasting or something at 5 o'clock or whatever, like you really couldn't do it because some of those classes and stuff like they didn't align with football practice or whatever. So it was really hard. Like basically you had to choose one or the other. And like obviously I was a freshman, so like still trying to establish myself in the program and things like that. It was like, okay, well I want to, but it's like, can I? And like I said, I definitely would. I might honestly like even if I go to Colorado, I still consider journalism as well. I mean, but I think just right now it's like focus on business management, but we'll see.
You should do the minor.
I feel like that's a smart idea. Like, as someone that's worked in the industry for a bit, I think business is definitely the way to go. Journalism's fun, but I think business, it's potentially more lucrative ventures. I think you made a good call.
Yeah. Depends how much you want to extend yourself. But yeah, I did the journalism program. Worked out for me some way or another. And I did a business minor too. So I think yeah, the business school just has such a great program as well. So it's like it's also like nationally recognized. So I think you're in good hands academically and hopefully football.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. But yeah, like safe travels and yeah, looking forward to see you. Are you gonna get here in the summer? Or are you like moving now?
So yeah, I'm packing up all my stuff because well, I won't get in till May 16th, which is like next Tuesday. But I still gotta get some of my things and move in and out. So I kind of got a busy weekend ahead of me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't want to deter the packing. I understand how long and hard that process is. You're like, where did this go? I'm like, do I even
Right,
really need
exactly.
this?
All right, things I like had in my closet. I'm sitting there like, okay, well, when did this get here? But
Do you keep all your like practice jerseys? Because you get like so many like football like shirts, shorts,
well,
gloves.
me, I'm a cleat guy. I will say that. So I have like over 20 pairs of cleats sitting. Actually, it's on my couch right here. But I'm just sitting there like, what am I about to do with this? I'm probably gonna donate like a decent amount of them because I feel like there's some high school kids, especially in like Denver, like that definitely could use some shoes and cleats. So I would definitely try to give it to whatever program or find some program. So.
Great. Yeah. Recycle them.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you when we see you, whenever that is. But thanks again for taking the time.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you. I
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
All right.
that.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
y'all.
Have a
Go
good
Buffs.
night. Let's go Buffs. Wow. Yeah, that was I really enjoy getting to know the players and just getting back in touch with these like interviews since we haven't been doing them in the off season. Like I talked to Hawkes last week. It's good to get, like I said, some context on why these players are choosing this program now because we saw such a different experience last season and now we're getting names from the SEC like Arden, like Hawkes, like Jordan, like Des Moines Kennedy, like, just the list goes on this, like these transfers and just putting the face to the name is always good for us and good for the people. But
Yeah.
we have a lot to talk about too.
I mean, it's a way different time, like where you've got. I mean, I had written a couple. I guess it was about a week and a half ago now. Just where I mean, where there were concerns about, obviously that was a roster that needed significant upgrades, and it's really hard to say, like when you look at a team that went 1-11, that somebody is so indispensable, like you can't afford to lose them. I mean, for me, it was more kind of a question of like, will they be able to fill all of these spots? Like where you have, you had like I think only about 60 scholarship players, like, and it's not even necessarily a talent question, but like just a depth and quality of depth question. Where will you be able to fill all of these spots? Are there even that many Power Five caliber players out there? But what we've seen from Deion Sanders has been impressive. I mean, it's you, the guys that he's been able to get. I mean, you're getting a lot of guys from Power Five programs and guys who didn't play a bunch, but like these were guys. Some of them were fairly highly rated coming out of high school. Like these are worthwhile gambles, and like
Mhm.
they're maybe in a spot there where they have to sit, and not play a bunch their first couple of years. But you have a school and you have an opportunity that comes up here where it's like, hey, you can play Power Five football. You can play it immediately and play as much as you want, basically. Or I probably shouldn't say that, but like, where you can play and play a big role, you can do it at Power Five Pro, and you can do it for Deion Sanders, who like it's kind of amazing that like for a dude who played I mean, he really earnestly played his last games like in the early 2000s. Like he still resonates a whole bunch, even for people who were born like after 9/11. So it's you know, I think that's been a powerful force where you've gotten some players who, they're not impatient, but they're just kind of antsy, like they want to contribute, and they sort of have their counterpoint in a coach now who like, is going to rebuild the program, but he wants to do it as quickly as possible. I think he'd probably admit that he is an impatient man. He's someone who doesn't really abide by losing, especially not to the extent that CU did last year. So I mean, I think a lot of the questions I maybe, or at least some of the questions I had a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, have really started to get answered. And if I were a CU fan, I would feel much better now. There's still obviously a lot of question marks. I mean, this is like what we're seeing now is an experiment we've never really seen before in college football. Um,
Yeah.
there was a program where it should have happened. Like, I mean, I really do think I would have to like go back into like my mental vault. But like that might have been the worst Power Five football team I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was like rewatching the spring game and Chris Fowler and RG3 were like, this team was absolutely terrible, probably one of the worst college teams just in the nation. And it's like you see it with your own eyes, and every single game you're like, not every single. I think we eventually got to some point in the season we're like, all right, this is what we're gonna expect out of them, and it's just, yeah, it was like completely hopeless to the biggest college football program in America. And we're definitely seeing just the products of that in terms of recruiting. And yeah, I just want to say we'll start with some numbers. Just 54 scholarship players have left since December. Like it's completely new. So many new faces on this team. 43 left. Literally, the majority of them left after the spring game, including Montana Lamonius Craig, Jordan Tyson, Deion Smith, Nico Reed. There's only 12, 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, now there's only 11, 11 former buffs remaining. And yeah, they added 46 transfers total. And there's 76 scholarships filled, and there's 10 still available to fill. And I think one of their biggest needs right now is certainly a tight end with Seydou Traore leaving the program. It's just like every single day we're experiencing something new. Like literally the spring game was 3 weeks ago, and there's so many new faces we're having to learn, and we're seeing just the quick turnover with the majority of this roster. And I think there's certainly some holes that still need to be filled. Just, I think, tight end, quarterback, running back. Um, the O line has 13 members, but yeah, it's just there's a variety of new faces in the program. I want to go like, I don't know. I don't know if you watched the spring game, but Ryan Staub, he was working with a second team offense against the first team defense. And there were some positive moments with his play and multiple completions, but most of them were just like short passes, like safe passes, when you're working with a second team offense. But like, in the case that Shedeur Sanders gets hurt, which I think literally we saw last season with McCowan, with Shroud, like Maddox Cop played at Utah because they're running through quarterbacks, and health is never a guarantee in this sport. So, when you think of the next guy up, just looking at the roster, I'm like, okay, it's Ryan Staub, but when you put in a freshman into a new system, there's always a learning curve, there's always growing pains with that. And I just don't know. I don't know. We saw with Owen McCown, like he was able to pick it up on an offense that was really struggling. Like maybe it could be one of those stories, and we'll see.
I mean, that was one of
Also,
my biggest concerns for
yeah,
CU is finding a good backup quarterback. And like, I don't mean this at all as a shot at Dion because I think anybody could reasonably agree. Like, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be probably one of the 10 or 15 best quarterbacks in college football this year. But like when so people would know that if they were considering transferring to CU, they knew that they wouldn't be starting. But I did. There was part of me that wondered, like, well, how are you really going to attract a backup like that has any realistic like hope of starting or like who like or feels he is a good enough player to be a Power Five starter or good Power Five backup somewhere when the coach's introductory press conference literally names his quarterback. I mean, that was one of my concerns, as far as how they would address that hole. But I mean, you know, again, I mean, just the way that they built at some of these positions, I feel like especially wide receiver and defensive back, and I mean, you're even starting to see it too as far as some of the bodies that they're adding on the O line and D line. Like that was, that's something else too, where we knew that they had some really good wideouts, some really good DBs. I mean, you probably figure Deion Sanders can probably find and attract some pretty good defensive backs. But I wasn't sure. I was just like, we know how important both of the lines are. The proverbial trenches. Like we know how important that is to a program being successful, and we're starting to see that more. A lot of these recent additions here over the past week or two, like they, for lack of a better term, they are getting some beef on those lines.
Yeah, it's like I think the general theme with this recruiting class is like a good amount of JUCO guys, at least on the O line, but a lot of guys that didn't have that platform at their previous schools and are looking for that like grand second chance. I think like Hawkins Robinson is just one that just like comes off the top of my head, and like Demoy Kennedy, like you're in these like powerhouse football programs, and sometimes you get pushed to the side and are in a more reserved role because there is just so much depth and like versatility and talent at those schools. So it's like, and these guys, some of these guys too, you just see it with like Shane Cokes and, Brendan Gant, Marion Cooper, like the FSU guys that he picked up. Um, they're so desirable out of high school, and then they fell within these programs that did have that depth, and they had these like really talented young guys coming in that they would battle for their spots for. So this program is like you know the second coming of talent that was pushed aside at previous programs. I would I would describe it as such. But in terms of, I think, more concerns on this roster, like just a consistent theme that I was like watching during spring practice was the offensive line. And Bill Boyle was like, these guys need to get stronger. Like the physicality is not where I want it to be. And none of them earned their numbers over those weeks. And it just made me think like, how are these like G5 guys, these JUCO guys that did have a lot of accolades at their previous schools, what's kind of missing there for Bill O'Boyle, like Sean Lewis to be like, we have our guy. Like we had Jared Christian Lichtenhahn from the previous program on the first team, Van Wells on the first team, Savion Washington, Isaiah Jada, Will T was on the second team, and then Bailey. I don't know if Bailey's here yet, but from what I saw at least, it was fair coverage. I also think it has to do with Shedeur Sanders and his efficiency and like getting the ball out and the speed of his receivers too. Like there's so many moving parts to this offensive line. Just I think some question marks there. I think who I really liked was Savion Washington. Just so he fit really well. Of course, coming from Kent State, fits really well in their scheme and has adapted really well with their pace. And he's a great size, like really good on that. I think about right guard, during spring practice, just really like good on the edge. And yeah, I liked him. And then just some question marks. Oh yeah, they also picked up Tyler Brown too. Um, yeah, and of course, just still keeping on this topic of the trenches, like the whole D line was gone. um, from when we saw it, just like at the beginning of the spring. And I'm looking at this list, and it's all new guys. Like they picked up Zach Blackwood, JUCO, JJ Hawkins, Amari McNeil, JJ Hawkins, Ole Miss, Amari McNeil, Tennessee, Chaz Wallace, Old Dominion, and then Bishop Thomas, FSU. And like they're just like completely redoing that entire D line. Like I think, when I look at that group, maybe Jalen Sami like could have, like he could have maintained that interior. Like, he was a well-sized guy who's very experienced. I know TU's run defense was horrendous, but that wasn't all due to Jalen Sami. It was like a multitude of things. But I just don't, maybe he could have been helpful in terms of I think their depth. I think just moving forward, but yeah, 10 more scholarship spots to fill. I think they've definitely done some good coverage with the DL in this post spring practice window. Like I feel like everyone who's visiting is a a D lineman, an edge, like they're just like a front guy.
Yeah, I mean they've done a lot of the heavy, a lot of the heavy lifting so far. I mean, 75 is a lot more. Um, it's a much more comfortable place to be. I mean, obviously, once the season starts, we'll find out how good these guys are that they picked up. But it's you know, obviously still have some, obviously still in scholarship short. They have some spots to fill, but you're at I mean, there are programs sometimes who don't fill up all 85 of their scholarships, or maybe a few short. Ideally, you will have all 85 of them filled up, but on the same hand, too, it's like as you're going through this rebuilding process, especially with with the scholarships being 4-year deals now, not a year-to-year thing. Like if you're at 81, 82 guys, like you don't necessarily want to give one away unless you're really fully invested in the idea of this guy that you're trying to add being an integral part of a winning program. Even just someone who's a hell of a backup. Like, you know, that is something that's worth adding. But otherwise, you're just sort of filling out a roster for the sake of it. I
Mhm.
mean, Deion Sanders was confident throughout this whole process. I mean, that's really a stunner to hear, I'm sure. But he was like, hey guys, like don't worry, like I've got guys coming. Like you don't know these guys now, but I do. And like
Mhm.
once you see them, you're gonna get where I'm coming from. You're gonna get what the plan is. And like I mean, there was some question of whether he deserved that benefit of the doubt. He's a guy who'd never, only been a college head coach for 3 years, never coached in the FBS, let alone the Power Five. But you're seeing now sort of the plan that he's had, and sort of the types of guys that he's been wanting to target and wanting to add, and like it seems to me like there is a coherent path forward for them,
Mhm.
and that answered a lot of my questions.
I saw a video recently. Sure, Sanders was getting his hair rebraided, and he was sitting with Montana, and he was like, there's still a chance for you to come back. And then Montana was like, for real, like I can come back. And that was just like a quick clip of them, and that was like the first glimpse. I was like, oh man, is Montana Lamonious Craig coming back? So my question to you: would you like Montana Lamonious Craig or anyone that has left back on this roster?
Uh, I mean, yeah, I would. I mean, him and Jordan Tyson were two of the guys who really stood out to me pretty immediately. As far as like, hey, these are like, two guys who I think are pretty big losses. And I mean, as most people have gathered with Montana, I mean, his wasn't he was not one of the guys effectively chased off. I mean, wide receiver is a position where they're pretty good. As far as some of the guys who they've added, who they've brought in via the portal. I mean, Travis Hunter's gonna be fascinating to watch it too, not just because of his raw talent, but like I mean, God bless God bless his cardio for being able. I mean, those are two taxing positions, playing DB and playing wideout. I mean, he's done it. He did last year at Jackson State. Um, I mean, I don't necessarily know if he's going to be an every down kind of wideout,
Mm.
just because I mean, I really don't think that you can pull that off, and you probably don't want to wear him down too much. But I mean, yeah, if you can get Montana Lamonious Craig back, I mean, Jordan Tyson was the other guy who had brought. He committed to Arizona State here recently, but I mean, if he wants to come back, I mean, that would be a very odd thing where you leave after the spring game. I mean, I know Shador Sanders originally posted a video that was, shortly after that happened, that was quite critical of him. But I mean, hey, if they mend fences or if he doesn't think there's a better option out there. I mean, there are very good programs that have reached out to him. I mean, Auburn, Penn State have, um, but I mean, if there's not a place that he has seen or talked with that he feels can match what CU has done for him or what he enjoyed about CU, I mean, hey man, like come back. Chance Main. I mean, his situation is very different, but you can always go back home like that.
Hmm.
That is a possibility.
Yeah. I yeah, I was like, interesting. Definitely kind of watched that storyline, but I think I'm gonna look at running backs too. They have Alton McCaskill, 2021 ACC or AAC Rookie of the Year at Houston. Really productive, a lot of potential. Like his ceiling is huge at such a young age. He's visiting CU this weekend. It's gonna be a pretty pivotal visit in order to uh, get him, I guess, get a glimpse one at Boulder and also kind of sway him maybe in the Colorado direction. He's being really sought out right now, of course, just for the talent and the numbers that he put up. 16 touchdown, leading all freshman runners in the nation. 6'1", 210, rushed for 961 yards. So he's someone we're definitely like looking at, and also Demi Sumo Karambe from NC State, also a desirable running back, 55 carries for 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was the second leading rusher for NC State, and he was their leading scoring rusher last year too. Just some like good numbers to look at, and that's another room like they need a running back. Like they only have three. I think another storyline too is just looking at Kavasi Smoke. He was kind of more, I guess, like the secondary guy within that back room, good blocker, able to play fullback. But is he able to? Can he be like that? I guess if I can't really think of anyone on the top of my head, Drake Broussard of like the group and really be that like crazy back that comes out and like gives that CU that second option of give it to your running back, just have him go like 10 15 yards. Like I just have to see, as with most of these guys, like there are like kind of like we've seen what they've done at their previous programs. How is it going to translate into here? Another guy too, which was interesting, is like Anthony Hankerson staying. Everyone has their own decision um, of just like where they want to go and what they want to do with their football careers. But I thought Deion Smith was going to be one to stay as well. But yeah, I think the secondary is going to be really, really fun to watch this fall and just like through the spring, seeing all those pieces coming together. And yeah, I'm interested to see, since with all these new pieces on both sides of the trenches, like just where they're at talent wise, performance wise. Overall, it's just been like we haven't caught up in a while, but it's just been like, as we've been looking at Twitter and stuff these past even 3 weeks since the spring game, has just been completely transformational for this program. And just seeing some of the names like Savell Smalls, really excited to see what he has, the number one prospect in Washington. There's guys with like notable high school resumes, even some notable college resumes. Um, Interested to see how these coordinators, this coaching staff puts those pieces all together to create that team that Deion Sanders wants. Also, I tweeted this for Yahoo Sports the other day. Per BetMGM, 8.1% of all national championship bets are on Colorado. And that's sixth behind Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Ohio State. So people are betting on CU to win the national championship, which is pretty dramatic. And I don't think that is necessarily in their future. But yeah, it just goes to show just the transformation of this program and the hype behind it. And I don't know what the future may or may not hold.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time. It's an exciting time. And I think those are two words, two adjectives we're going to be using quite a bit with CU over the course of Deion Sanders' tenure, however long that might last. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we've said a million times privately or over forums like this. I mean, just what a drastic change from what it was previously. I mean, and again, I thought it was a fantastic hire for them because it's a big risk, absolutely, but I genuinely, short of like major NCAA violations, don't really know what this program had to lose, like, or how things could have potentially gotten worse for them. And this is a guy who can fundamentally reshape not only a roster, I mean, he's already doing that now, but just the perception of this program. It's a school. It's a program with some history. It's got a beautiful campus and really nice area of the country. Um, I'm sure I wasn't there at the spring game, unfortunately, but I had to imagine Dion was probably a little bit, probably a little bit peeved where it was snowing, and he's like, "Man, I've been telling all these recruits over the past couple months, like seriously, it's not that cold here." But I mean,
Literally
there's
the one day.
yeah, yeah, but I don't know if you have any final thoughts here, Nikki.
Yeah, it's just I think it's good to catch up with you and also talk to our audience and reconnect with them. We've been doing our own things and we have been doing a lot of other lot with our lives and stuff, but trying to keep up as much as we can in this day-to-day chaos and shenanigans that is this program. So yeah, cool interview with Arden and yeah, excited to see you soon in the flesh whenever you can. But yeah, I'm gonna thank you for hopping on, Craig.